Mayors, welcome. Thank you for being here. In terms of bringing jobs to the super region, how do we as jurisdictions best work together to do that? And how do we avoid over-competing with each other and perhaps losing opportunities that could benefit the super region at large?
I'm still trying to figure out where the restroom is. But I think a lot of it is communications, too. I mean, I think a lot of it is the personal relationships that we have with each other. Mayor Dyer and I go back probably 20 years. Mayor Hibbard and I have been friends for a very long time. I think it's focusing on the strengths of our individual communities and acknowledging the strengths of other communities within the region. Trying not to step on each other's toes, but always having those open lines of communication.
Terrific. Mayor?
I would say that we had absolutely no choice but to cooperate cross-jurisdictionally. And I can speak more from my experience in Central Florida, but expanding into this super region, we can look at the model that we've used in Central Florida, and Central Florida Partnership in my region has created a great model for us, or no, not a model, a vehicle for us to work together. And then we have found success, and success has begat more success in working together, whether it was working collectively to secure a medical school, working collectively to create the medical city, 3 venues planned for a new Amway Center, a new Performing Arts Center, and we are going to get that done, by the way, for those of you who and the Citrus Bowl. All of those were multi-jurisdictional projects that would not have happened if it was just the city of Orlando or if it was just Orange County or Seminole County. And then the best example, another one that, yes, is going to happen, is commuter rail. We had 5 local governments. I'm going to have to play to my audience. We had 5 local governments that all voted unanimously to be funding partners for 25% funding partners for a 61-mile commuter rail system. And it's part of what Mayor Murphy was talking about. We see the future. There's enough of us in Central Florida that understand there could be $10 a gallon gas in our future, but I don't know that we were focused on that as much as we were focused on collectively as a region, how do we want our region to grow? What do we want to look like in 20 years? What do we want our economies to be? How do we want to attract people to our region? And we knew that transit and commuter rail was, if not the most important thing that we could do together, one of the most important things. So I think that we are working together, and now we're working together. I'm sorry I'm taking too much time on this, but it's a passion on the working together part as a super region. And we had a pretty good example of us coming together and working really hard on high-speed rail. And it wasn't anything that we did collectively that caused us not to have high-speed rail traveling between Orlando and Tampa, but it certainly, I think, established a framework. I know working with the mayor of Lakeland and the mayor of Tampa back in that time frame, we became very close, and I think that's going to continue with the mayors along the I-4.
Great. Well, I have a follow-up question on that in a moment. Mayor Hibbard?
I think communication obviously is critical. We all have our niches. Clearwater is never going to have enormous corporate headquarters, but we understand that we're a part of a bigger region. Tampa is going to have more headquarters, St. Petersburg, but we have something to add to that mix in quality of life with our beaches. We need to remember that we are not competing with one another. We're competing against Atlanta and North Carolina and Dallas and Denver, and then foreign countries, and work together towards some common goals. That all comes back to the communication part. Transportation is critically important. As Mayor Dyer said, we've worked together on many transportation issues. Our citizens don't know where the city and county lines are, so we've got to continue to focus upon that. When Tampa has a success, a lot of that spills over to Clearwater and St. Petersburg and elsewhere, and the same thing needs to be looked at with Orlando. I think the biggest thing is all of you have to hold political and elected officials' feet to the fire. Because the biggest thing that concerns me is continuity. Tom talked about leadership, but there's not always continuity of leadership. The continuity in many cases comes from all of you and organizations like the Tampa Bay Partnership. And so we need to continue to strengthen and grow that.
Terrific. Tom, any comment?
What I would say is your strength is your weakness right now. In a sense, you have some of the best brands in the country. Disney World brands, for better or for worse, the Orlando area, the beaches, and brand the Tampa Clearwater area. And yet you have right underneath that a growing technology corridor. And it struck me, and I don't know politically, but it struck me that the high-speed rail was an opportunity to brand yourselves in an entirely different way, as sort of a cities of the future, a region of the future, rather than a region of tourism. I think you could have built off of that, because part of your challenge is that you have now, with your universities and the level of research and the number of companies starting here, a real opportunity to build a whole different economic base for yourselves that really has a much higher value driver in your economy. And how you go from where you are to sort of the next level is a challenge for you. Part of it is getting companies to locate here, but I think you're now at a point where you can pursue a homegrown economy if you put the right places. I would suggest that the three mayors and the other leaders in the community really ought to focus very heavily on sort of Central Florida technology, if you understand what I mean, because you now have the raw materials, I think, in place, and you're really working against, in some ways, people's image of yourself. And it might not be your image, but of those of us that live in cold areas, it's our image of you, okay? I'm coming here in November to go to Disney World.